There is such a powerful educational principle learned from the beginning of this week's parsha, according to Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch and his interpretation of the Midrash. The Psukim say, Vayigdelu hanarim, that Eisav and Yaakov grew up together, literally growing up together. And the Midrash says they learned at exactly the same school, in the same Beit Midrash, exactly the same education, identical. Yet, says Rabbi Hirsch, this seems unusual because we see how different they were. Did they really need exactly the same education? Not in any way, God forbid, to criticize or to, in any way, avot and imahot, but rather to learn the educational lessons of today. They were so different from the outset. They looked so different. We know that Eisav was ruddy and totally hairy, and Yaakov smooth and different. And as they grew up, we see that the one was totally different qualities in every possible way, interests and qualities. Yet they had exactly the same schooling. Says Rabbi Hirsch, it's perhaps because they were educated in exactly the same way and not according to their way that they turned out so differently, and Eisav so distant from where he could have been. We all know the very famous pasuk in Mishlei chapter 23, Chanoch l'nar al pi darko, educate a child according to his or her way. And the Balei Musar and Gdolei Rebbeim emphasize, it says, Chanoch l'nar al pi darko, v'lo al pi darkecha, educate the child according to his way, not your way. How difficult is it for us as parents, where we want our children to be exactly the way we want them to be? And very often we see that different children have different interests and going in a different way on many different levels from how ideally we would like them to be. The Shlonim Rebbe, Rav Barzovsky, Netivot Shalom, goes even further. He said it's not only Chanoch l'nar al pi darko, he says it's Chanoch l'dor al pi darko. Every generation has different educational principles needed to succeed with it. It seems that the strict disciplinarian approach, which perhaps was the mainstay of certain previous generations, does not work in today's generation for all types of ways. And therefore it's understanding the nature of our generation and understanding the needs of every single child. And incredibly, to complete the message, says Rabbi Hirsch, look how great Judaism is. He says, you see that the bracha that Yaakov gave to his children at the end of the book of Bereshit, he finds space for each one, gives each one a different blessing and emphasizes their qualities. Quoting Rav Hirsch, he says, we see there those which are Morei Hora'ah, the priests, the Leviim, the studies, those who study in Torah, those who have a priestly and spiritual bent, and that's where they spend their whole lives. There are those who says which are Melucha, the statesmen, Yehuda, the fighters, the farmers, the businessmen. Each one finds their way. The qualities of each child are there and indeed incorporate the totality of Judaism. And may we zocher, be'ezrat Hashem, each and every one of us, l'klal u'prat, to understand our generation, to give space to our children to be who they ought to be. And with the great tapestry of Jewish existence, giving space and room for expression to our children, al pi derech haTorah, and fulfilling their destiny as part of the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.